Hello, scholars, and welcome to Mr. Chambers Teaches HMH into Math for 5th grade. Today we are working on Module 1, Lesson 5. These are pages 21 through 24 in your Unit 1, Module 1 through 9 workbook. In this video, we will review the objective, spark your learning, build understanding, and step it out problems for this lesson, and a few select questions from Check for Understanding and On Your Own for Review. Please feel free to skip around in the video to find help working on the particular problems you may need help with. To start off with, we are on Lesson 5 of Module 1, Multiply by Multi-Digit Numbers. Our objective for today is that I can multiply multi-digit whole numbers by 2-digit or 3-digit numbers. To start it off, we are going to do a step it out problem. The cost of a summer camp is $1,125 for each camper. If 65 campers sign up, what is the total amount the camp collects? To start off, we are going to estimate 65 times 1,125, and we're going to show our work. For this estimation, I'm going to round 65 to the nearest 10. Looking at my ones place, that 5 is 5 or greater, which means I round up to 70 for my estimation. Then I'm multiplying times 1,125, which I'm going to round to the nearest thousands place. The 1 in the hundreds place means that I'm multiplying by 1,000. I estimate that 70 times 1,000 equals 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And then I multiply 7 times 1 for a total of 70,000. This is my estimate for this problem. Now that I have an estimate, I'm actually going to solve. I first start off by multiplying my ones. I multiply 5 times 5, which gives me 25. Place my 5 in the ones place and carry my 2 over to my tens. Then I multiply 5 times 2, which gives me 10. Plus an additional 2, which makes it 12. Put my 2 in the tens place, carry my 1 over to the hundreds. Now I multiply 5 times 100, which is 500, plus an additional 1, 600. Lastly, I do 5 times 1,000. 5 times 1,000 is 5,000. So for my ones, I have 5,625. 5 ones times 1,125 equals 5,625. Now I multiply by my tens. Think about how I regroup and I record. Next, so I will do a placeholder 0 because I'm no longer in my ones place. Then I multiply 6 times 5, which gives me 30. I place my 0 in the tens place and carry a 3 over to my tens. 6 times 2 gives me 12 plus an additional 3 for 15. Place the 5 down on my hundreds place and carry my 1 over to there. Now I do 6 times 1, which is 6, plus an additional 1 from up here. That gives me 7. Lastly, I multiply 6 times 7, or 6 times 1, I should say, for 6. Now that I have the 6,700, 500 tens. Okay, so now I add these all up. I have 5 plus 0 for a total of 5. 2 plus 0, 2. 6 plus 5 is 11, carry a 1. 5 plus 7 is 13, plus 1 for 14. Additional 1 plus 6 is 7. The total amount of money that the camp collects is $74,125 for the 65 campers. This is reasonable, as we estimated that it would be approximately 70,000. So yes, this is reasonable, as we estimated. A total of 70,000. Moving on to page 22, we have another step it out problem. Number 2. An online store sells camping chairs for $29. If the store sells 26,578 chairs in 1 year, how much does the store earn in sales? To start off, I'm going to estimate by rounding 29 to the nearest 10, so it becomes 30. And then I'm going to round 26,578 to the nearest thousands place. 26,578 rounds up to 27,000. And so for my estimation, I'm going to round 27,000 times 30. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Then I multiply 3 times 7, that's 21. And 3 times 2 is 6 plus an additional 2. Our estimate is that approximately $810,000 will be our solution. Now I start by multiplying my ones, starting with 9 times 8. 9 times 8 gives me 72. So I put my 2 in my ones place and carry my 7 over here. Next, I do 9 times 7, and 9 times 7 is 63 plus 7 for a total of 70. Carry my 0 into my tens and regroup the 700s into the hundreds place. 9 times 5 is 45 plus 7 gives me 52. Place my 2 down in my hundreds and carry my 5 over to my thousands place. 9 times 6 is 54, plus an additional 5 is 59. I place my 9 down in my thousands place and carry my 5 over to my 10,000s. Lastly, I multiply 9 times 2, which gives me a total of 18, plus 5 for a total of 23. That is 239,202 ones. Next, I need to multiply by my tens. For my tens, I put a placeholder 0 here in my one spot. Then I multiply 2 times 8 to give me 16. I carry my 1 over to my tens. Now, 2 times 7 for 14, plus an additional 1, gives me a 5. Carry my 1, and now I'm on to 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Put my 1 in my thousands place, and put another 1 over there. Next, I'll be doing 2 times 6, which is 12, plus 1 for 13. Carry my 1 over here. Lastly, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 for 5. This gives me 531,561s. Now I add up my partial products to find out what my total sum is. 2 plus 0 is 2. 0 plus 6, 6. 2 plus 5, 7. 9 plus 1 is 10. I place my 0 here and regroup to my 10,000s. 30,000 plus 30,000 is 60,000 plus an additional 10,000 for 70,000. And lastly, 200,000 plus 500,000 for 700. The store earns 770,762. While it's not quite 810,000, this is reasonable within $50,000 of the target price because we did round both numbers up significantly to the nearest thousands or tens. Now, we are going to be doing the even number problems for Check for Understanding and on your own. Starting with problem number 2, 813 times 76. To help myself out, I'm going to arrange this vertically, lining up my 1s with my 1s and my 10s with my 10s. Starting with my 1's place value, 6 times 3 gives me 18. Carry my 1 to my 10's place. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Then I do 6 times 8, which gives me 48. Now I move on down to my 10's place. I put a placeholder 0 because I'm no longer multiplying by my 1's. And I start 7 times 3 for 21. I carry my 2 over there. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 2 gives me 9. And then 7 times 8 for a total of 56. I add these all up. 8 plus 0 is 8. 7 plus 1 is 8. 8 plus 9 is 17. Carry my 1 over here. 6 plus 4 is 10, plus 1 for 11. 1 plus 5 is 6, for a total of 61,788. Problem number 4. I am now multiplying 31,289 times 52. Starting with my 1's place, 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 8, 16, plus 1 for 17. Carry my 1 over here. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 for 5. 2 times 1 is 2, and 2 times 3 is 6. Now that I have done that, I multiply by my 10's category. For my 10's category, I remember to put a placeholder 0 here because I'm no longer multiplying by my 1's. I have 5 times 9, which gives me 45. 5 times 8 for 40, plus an additional 4, or 44. Carry my 4 over here for 5 times 2. 5 times 2 gives me 10, plus 4 is 14. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. And lastly, 5 times 3 is 15. I add these all up, starting with my lowest place value. 8 plus 0 is 8. 7 plus 5 is 12. Carry my 1. 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Place a 0 here and carry a 1. 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 6 plus 6 is 12. Carry my 1. 5 plus 1 is 6. 1. Place in my commas for a total of 1,627,028. On your own, we will be doing problems 6, 8, 10, and 12. Starting with problem 6, it first asks us to estimate what we think the product of 654 times 97 is. To do this, we are going to round 654 to the nearest 10. 654 rounds to 650, stays the same because its 1's category is not bigger than 5. We're then going to round 97 up to the nearest 10, which changes it to 100. As I'm doing this, I count up my zeros. I have 3 zeros, and then I have 1 times 65 for 65,000. We approximate that our answer will be about 65,000. Now we can multiply starting with our 1's. 7 times 4, 28. Carry my 2. 7 times 5, 35, plus 2 is 37. Carry my 3. 7 times 6 will equal 42, plus 3 for 45. Now, I move on to my 10's category, put my placeholder 0 because I'm no longer multiplying by 1. 9 times 4 is 36, carry my 3. 9 times 5 is 45 plus 3 for 48, carry my 4. 9 times 6 is 54 plus 4 for 58. I add up my partial products to get 8. 13, carry the 1. This equals 14. If I add those all up together, carry my 1. 12 plus 1 for 13, carry my 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. for a total of 63,438. This is reasonable because we estimated that the total product would be 65,000. For number 8, we're going to start with an estimate of 24,736 times 93. 24,736, we are going to round to the nearest thousand. The 7 in my hundreds place means that I get to round up to 25,000. Then I round 93 up to the nearest 10, which becomes 100. I count up the number of zeros for 5 zeros. And then 1 times 25 is 25. Place my commas for an estimated total of about 2.5 million. Now I can multiply starting with my ones. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 3 is 9 plus 1 for 10. 3 times 7 is 21 plus 1 for 22. Carry my 2. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2 for 14. And 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 for 7. Now I move on to my tens category. I multiply 9 times 6. I remember a placeholder 0. Then I do 9 times 6 for 54. Place my 4 here and a 5 over there. 9 times 3 gives me 27 plus 5 for 32. 9 times 7 is 63 plus 3 for 66. Carry my 6. 9 times 4 is 36 plus an additional 6 for 42. Lastly, I have 9 times 2 for 18. 18 plus 4 is 22. I now add up my two partial products. 8 plus 0 is 8. 0 plus 4 is 4. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 6 is 10. Carry my 1. 7 plus 2 is 9, plus 1 for another 10. Place my 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, with another 2. Place in my commas, and we have that the total product of 24,736 times 93 is 2,300,448. This is reasonable as we estimated it at 2.5 million. Number 10, start with estimating 5,341 times 105. We're going to round to the nearest thousand. 5,341 becomes 5,000 because that 0, or that 3 in the hundreds category is not greater than 5. We're going to round 105 to the nearest 100, which becomes 100. 5,000 times 100, I count up the zeros for 5 zeros. Then 1 times 5 is 5. Place my commas, and I estimate that my product will be approximately 500,000. Now I multiply this out, starting with my ones. 1 times 5 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry my 2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 for 17. Carry my 1. And 5 times 5 is 25, plus 1 for 26. In my tens category, I have a 0. I put a placeholder 0, but 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 4 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. And 0 times 5 is also 0. Now I am in my hundreds category. Because I'm in my hundreds category, I remembered to place not 1, but 2 placeholder zeros at the end, because I am no longer multiplying by my ones or my tens. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 5 is 5. Now that I have this all together, I will add it all up. 5 plus 0 is 5. 0, 0, 0 all adds up to 0. 7 plus 0 plus 1 is 8. 6 plus 0 plus 4 is 10. Place my 0 down here. Carry a 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus another 3 is 6. 5 plus nothing is there. My total product for number 10 is 560,805. This is reasonable because we estimated that it would be about 500,000. Problem number 12. A commuter plane multiplies the same root 24 times in a week. The route is 1,384 miles long. How many miles does this plane fly in a single week? To find this out, we are going to multiply 1,384 times 24. We start with our ones place. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 8 is going to give us 32 plus 1 for 33. Carry my 3. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Carry my 1. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 for 5. Now I'm multiplying by my tens. Put a placeholder 0 because I'm no longer multiplying by my ones. I'm going to do 2 times 4 for 8. 2 times 8 gives me 16. 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1 for 7. And 2 times 1 is 2. I have my two partial products that I'm going to add together. 6 plus 0 is 6. 3 plus 8 is 11. 5 plus 6 is 11, plus an additional 1 for 12. Carry my 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 7 is 13. 1 plus 2 is 3. Place in my commas for a product of 33,216 miles. All right, to wrap this on up, we've got page 24, questions 14 and 24. For number 14, we're going to complete the place value chart to find the product of 48 and 7,326. The sum of the products in the table is equal to 48 times 7,326. In this table, we have broken up 7,326 into its ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. We're multiplying it times 8 and then times 40 to represent 48. 8 times 6 gives me a total of 42. Strike that. I apologize. 8 times 6 is not 42. It is actually 48. 8 times 20 gives me 160. 8 times 300 gives me 2,400. 8 times 7 is 56,000. So if I add this all up, it's 56,000, 2,400, 160, and 48. 8, 10, 1, 2, 4, 6. 6 plus 2 is 8, and a 5. So our ones, we got a total of 58,608. Now we multiply by our tens. 40 times 6 is 240. 40 times 20 would be 800. 40 times 300 is 12,000. And 40 times 7,000, 4 times 7 is 28. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. Which is now 280,000, 12,000, 800, 240. Add it all up. 0, 4, 10, 3. 8 plus 1, 9, 2. So I have 293,040 plus 58,608. 8, 4, 6, 3 and 8 is 11. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 5 is 15. 1 plus 2 is 3. Total product of 351,648. This is the same math as if I were to align it vertically. This just breaks it down, so we're multiplying by the ones, by the tens, by the hundreds, and by the thousands, and then add up all the product. Number 16. describe different ways in which we can multiply 358 times 45. The traditional way, where we multiply our ones, 5 times 8 is 40, 5 times 5 is 25 plus 4, carry my 2, 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 17. Now I'm in my tens, put a placeholder, 4 times 8 is 32, 4 times 5 is 20, plus 3, 23, and 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 for 14. Add this all up, 0, 11, 11, 6, and 1, for a total product of 16,110. Another way in which I can do this is breaking it down by multiplying my hundreds, tens, and ones. Starting with 5 times 300, that gives me 1,500. 5 times 50 is 250, and 5 times 8 is 40. Now I multiply by my tens. 40 times 300, that gives me 3 zeros here. 4 times 3 is 12. 40 times 50, 2 zeros here, followed by a 20 for 2,000. And 40 times 8 gives me a total of 320. Now I add all of these together, making sure I align my thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones place. Add them all up. 0, 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 2 is 11, 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11, plus 2 plus 2, 4, plus 2 is 6, plus 1, 16,110. The last strategy I'm going to show you is the stick method, where we break up 358 times 45. For the stick method, I have drawn out 3 blue lines for my 300, 5 blue lines for my 5 tens, 8 blue lines for my 8 ones. Then I did my 4 red lines for my 40 and 5 red lines for my 5. When I do this, I count up the number of points that intersect, and then I add them all together. Here I have 3 times 4, that gives me 12. This is hundreds, this is 10, so that gives me 3 zeros. Then I do my tens times my tens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 20 plus a 0 from this 10 and a 0 from that 10, 2,000. Now I do my tens times my 4, 4 times 8, which will give me 32 down here. 32 points in which they intersect. You can count them all up. This is 32. It is only 110, so it's 320. Over here, doing my ones, I have 5 times 3. I will have 15 points of intersection between my red lines and my blue lines over here. This is my ones times my hundreds, which means that this will be 1,500. Now I've got my tens times my fives. I have 5 times 5. This is 25. This is 10, so I added 0 here. Then I have my ones times my 1. There will be 40 points that they intersect down in this corner over here. So I can now add up 12,000, 2,000, 1,500, 320, 250, and 40 all together to get a total sum of 0. 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 4 is 11. Carry my 1 into my hundreds. 5 plus 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10, plus 1 is another 11. Carry my 1 up here. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 2 plus 2 is 6, and 1. So my total is 16,110. No matter how I do it, whether it's the traditional method, whether I'm breaking it down into my HTO chart, or if I'm doing the stick method, it all has the same product of 16,110. This concludes our video on HMH into math for 5th grade. I'm Mr. Chambers, and I thank you for taking the time to watch this video to improve your math skills, and I look forward to speaking to you again in our next lesson, which will be Module 1, Lesson 6.